Seeing a need means we are required by some means to meet the need. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 2, a Torah portion, Teitzei. Let's go to chapter 22 and read verse number 1. When you see your brother's ox or his sheep straying away, you shall not hide yourself from them. Return them to your brother without fail. Once you see, you're obligated to respond. So the Torah is teaching you and I that we are not to hide ourselves from that which is in need around us. When we see that which is lost, we are to become part of the recovery. So if we see television commercials with starving children in foreign countries, our heartstrings are tugged. We weep. We see the gross need that they're living in, and we feel, I want to give some money. Not every organization, however, is worthy of our partnership. There needs to be some investigation. There needs to be some understanding of exactly what is going to happen to the funds that I contribute. Too often, those funds are more administratively applied than to the children who are in need. It's hard to take in every stray animal that comes by your property. I know many of you have already experienced that. If a stray cat comes by the house, I need to send it somewhere else. I'm not a cat person, got allergies, not my thing. But there was an occasion that we pulled into the driveway when my children were still young, and here at the home, we were unloading from a trip out of town, and we hear the whimpering of a starving puppy coming up the driveway. From the size of his paws, he's not going to be a small dog. But he's hungry, and immediately my daughters were starstruck with him. And Dexter became a fun, lively part of our home for a short while. So there has been those occasions that we've taken in the stray animal. That can't always be the case. You would have more cats, dogs, and other creatures living with you than you could afford to feed. But when it comes to that which is lost, we need to be a part of resolving the need, if at all possible. I recall a situation where I got out of my vehicle at Walmart. Here locally, the Walmart is quite large, and we have 2 parking lots, 2 entrances into the building. And I saw an elderly woman pushing her buggy, her cart for those who were not from the South. But her buggy was full of her purchases, and she was bewildered in her expression and growing concerned. I was in a hurry, and I had already walked by her trying to pretend I didn't see when this text came to my mind, and I stopped in my tracks, closed my eyes, and said, Father, yes, I saw. I will try to help. Turning around, I approached the woman, trying to be calm and easy voiced with her, lest I startle her and think that I'm going to hurt her. Ma'am, may I help you? Is there something I can help you with? And with great relief, she turned around and looked at me. She said, I cannot find my car. She described her automobile, and we looked. I went up and down aisles of parked vehicles looking for her vehicle. And I finally said, do you have a clicker that sounds an alarm or will blow your horn? She found it. It was on the other side of the store. She had went in one door and came out the store on the opposite side through a different door. So I helped her push her buggy all the way across to the other side and made sure that she could get in her car, and she was putting her items in her trunk when I walked away. I didn't wait for a thank you. It wasn't about a thank you. It was about fulfilling this verse, remembering I saw someone lost and in need. and I was obligated to be a part of the recovery. This reminds me that Yeshua saw you and I lost, bewildered, looking, trying to find security, when he came to those of us that were lost and was a part of our recovery. Thank you, Messiah. I find it interesting here that the ox that is referenced, when you see your brother's ox or his sheep, the ox is a symbol of the tribe of Ephraim. The sheep, Yeshua referenced in Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24 when he said, I was not sent except to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So it's interesting here that while the basic premise of this Torah command is that we care for animals until their master comes and claims them, that Yah is also suggesting to us that we are to care for Ephraim, the lost ox, and to care for Ephraim, the lost sheep, and to bring them to a place where their master can find them. In the book of John, Yochanan, chapter number 10, let's begin reading with verse number 1. Yeshua says, Truly, truly, I say to you, he who does not enter through the door into the sheepfold, but climbs up by another way, that one is a thief and a robber. But he who enters through the door is the shepherd of the sheep. The doorkeeper opens for him, and the sheep hear his voice. And he calls his own sheep by name and leads them out. And when he has brought them out his sheep, he goes before them, and the sheep follow him because they know his voice. Now, most of the time we read that and we emphasize the fact of who Yeshua is. He's the door and he's the shepherd, and his sheep know his voice and they follow him. But there is another individual that is named here whose role is the doorkeeper. This is the one who locates the sheep, puts them in a pen, and guards the door, providing and caring for them until the master, the shepherd, comes and calls for them. Our role and our job, according to the Torah, is to be the doorkeeper. If we go to the book of Matthew, chapter number 10, let's begin reading with verse number 5. Yeshua sent these 12 out, having commanded them, saying, Do not go into the way of the nations, and do not enter into the city of the Shemarionim, but rather go to the lost sheep of the house of Israel, and as you go, proclaim, saying, The reign of the heavens draws near. Heal the sick, cleanse the leper, raise the dead, and cast out demons. When we encounter these lost oxen and sheep of the house of Israel, the house of Ephraim, the goal is to bring them to the knowledge of Messiah Yeshua. Most of them are still in situations where they've lost their identity. They don't know who they are. They're not even aware, by a large part, of anything to do with Ephraim. They don't know anything about the Torah. But it's our role and our job that when we see them lost, that we become part of their recovery. We're obligated. We've already seen. And as we are waiting for the Messiah to come for them, to call them, they're going to have needs for which we are responsible. We need to heal them. We need to raise them up from the power of death. We need to cleanse them from their sarat, their uncleanness, their leprosy. And we're to see the demonic powers of darkness broken off of them so that they can be free. When the master comes, the door, the shepherd, the owner of Israel, we want to present to him sheep that are whole, well-fed, well cared for. That's our job. We'll talk more tomorrow. Until then, shalom.